A dairy is a business enterprise established for the harvesting or processing of animal milk, mostly from cows or buffaloes, but also from goats, sheep, horses, or camels for human consumption. A dairy is typically located on a dedicated dairy farm or in a section of a multipurpose farm that is concerned with the harvesting of milk. As an attributive, the word dairy refers to milk-based products, derivatives and processes, and the animals and workers involved in their production. For example, dairy cattle, dairy goat. A dairy farm produces milk and a dairy factory processes it into a variety of dairy products. These establishments constitute the global dairy industry, a component of the food industry. Terminology differs between countries. In the United States, for example, an entire dairy farm is commonly called a dairy. The building or farm area where milk is harvested from the cow is often called a milking parlor or parlor, except in the case of smaller dairies, where cows are often put on pasture and usually milked in stanchion barns. The farm area where milk is stored in bulk tanks is known as the farm's milk house. Milk is then hauled to a dairy plant, also referred to as a dairy, where raw milk is further processed and prepared for commercial sale of dairy products. In New Zealand, farm areas for milk harvesting are also called milking parlors and are historically known as milking sheds. As in the United States, sometimes milking sheds are referred to by their type, such as herringbone shed or pit parlor. Parlor design has evolved from simple barns or sheds to large rotary structures in which the workflow is very efficiently handled. In some countries, especially those with small numbers of animals being milked, the farm may perform the functions of a dairy plant, processing their own milk into saleable dairy products, such as butter, cheese, or yogurt. This on-site processing is a traditional method of producing specialist milk products, common in Europe. In the United States, a dairy can also be a place that processes, distributes and sells dairy products, or a room, building or establishment where milk is stored and processed into milk products, such as butter or cheese. In New Zealand English, the singular use of the word dairy almost exclusively refers to a corner shop or superette. This usage is historical, as such shops were a common place for the public to buy milk products. Milk-producing animals have been domesticated for thousands of years. Initially, they were part of the subsistence farming that nomads engaged in. As the community moved about the country, their animals accompanied them. Protecting and feeding the animals were a big part of the symbiotic relationship between the animals and the herders. In the more recent past, people in agricultural societies owned dairy animals that they milked for domestic and local or dairymen. The word dairy harkens back to Middle English dairy, dairy, from die and further back to Old English desh. With industrialization and urbanization, the supply of milk became a commercial industry, with specialized breeds of cattle being developed for dairy, as distinct from beef or draft animals. Initially, more people were employed as milkers, but it soon turned to mechanization with machines designed to do the milking. Historically, the milking and the processing took place close together in space and time. On a dairy farm, people milked the animals by hand. On farms where only small numbers are kept, hand milking may still be practiced. Hand milking is accomplished by grasping the teats in the hand and expressing milk either by squeezing the fingers progressively, from the other end to the tip, or by squeezing the teat between thumb and index finger, then moving the hand downward from udder towards the end of the teat. The action of the hand or fingers is designed to close off the milk duct at the other end and, by the movement of the fingers, close the duct progressively to the tip to express the trapped milk. Each half or quarter of the udder is emptied one milk duct capacity at a time. The stripping action is repeated, using both hands for speed. Both methods result in the milk that was trapped in the milk duct being squirted out the end into a bucket that is supported between the knees of the milker, who usually sits on a low stool. Traditionally, the cow, or cows, would stand in the field or paddock while being milked. Young stock, heifers, would have to be trained to remain still to be milked. In many countries, The cows were tethered to a post and milked. While most countries produce their own milk products, the structure of the dairy industry varies in different parts of the world. In major milk-producing countries, most milk is distributed through wholesale markets. In Ireland and Australia, for example, farmers' cooperatives own many of the large-scale processors, while in the United States many farmers and pros